Good morning to the SOLIDWORKS community. This is a man from Blue Byte Systems with the SOLIDWORKS VBA stream. Today, unlike the past 5 weeks, we're doing a stream on Thursday as opposed to Friday, because unfortunately I have some travel plans. Tomorrow I'll be out of town for a few days, but the stream will resume next week. Still, if I'm traveling, the show has to go on. Let's see here. Let's see. I don't think that we need the chat. We just drop that, right? I'll just remove the chat because we don't need that. All we need today for the stream is SOLIDWORKS. Any version of SOLIDWORKS is fine. We're going to take a look at writing a VBA macro that is going to check out an open file and then allow you to continue to make your edits to the file and then check it back into the vault. So today's stream, it is going to be about SOLIDWORKS PDM. This is a PDM stream. Today's stream is going to be about SOLIDWORKS PDM, and we are going to write VBA code. So if you're watching us on YouTube, drop a comment. If you're watching us on LinkedIn, drop a comment as well. Share this link of the stream with your colleagues or anyone who is interested in automating SOLIDWORKS and automating PDM. This is the SOLIDWORKS VBA stream brought to you by Blue Byte Systems, where we write code VBA, C#, or VB.NET that automates SOLIDWORKS 3D, SOLIDWORKS PDM, possibly eDrawings in the future. That's what we do. Okay, we've got SOLIDWORKS 2023 open. We got Daniel here. Daniel is saying hello. Hey, Daniel. Love to see you streaming. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate the support. This is what we are, wanting to do, is to get more people interested in programming in SOLIDWORKS by streaming. So I really, really appreciate the support. So hey, Audie, nice seeing you. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for the support. Yes. So going back to my SOLIDWORKS out here. Well, I need to make sure that I'm logged into my PDM. That's very important, right? So I'm going to do that here in File Explorer. So I'm going to open up my vault in File Explorer, make sure that I'm logged in, which we can do via the code. But I'm going to make sure that we are logged in so we can piggyback off of the existing SOLIDWORKS session. It'll be interesting to hear from the folks that are currently on the stream if they use SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional, and if so, have they done any scripting? Have they customized the convert task? Have they used any macros in SOLIDWORKS? That would be something interesting to hear. Yeah, drop that comment, participate in our chat, whether you are on LinkedIn or YouTube. I'm able to read your comments and share them with the folks. All right, so I need to log into my PDM. That's what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to go to my C drive where I have my local view. SOLIDWORKS PDM. and then the Blue Byte Vault. All right, let's just log in. All right. All right. So all he's saying is that he uses the 3D Experience platform, but not SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional. That's awesome, actually. You know, things on the cloud, didn't have to worry about having PDM on your computer or on your company's local premises. Should definitely merit to using the cloud and the 3D Experience platform over PDM. I read this thread on Reddit yesterday, and some people have some strong emotions about SOLIDWORKS PDM and how it's an old product and how it's, you know, sometimes unstable, it crashes, so on and so forth. And there's some elements of truth to that. You know, if you don't have PDM properly configured, then definitely you're going to see some things that could definitely prevent you from using the software to its fullest potential. I agree with that. But also, it's important to keep in mind that PDM was actually developed early 2000s, and it carried on as a product, and then it was not actually. It was initially developed by a smaller company that I think eventually got purchased by SOLIDWORKS or Dassault Systèmes, and then the product was not initially called SOLIDWORKS PDM. It got renamed. I think it was called Kinesio. That you could still see that today if you open up the administration tool. And I know I'm going off on a completely different tangent. If you open up the administration tool, which I have here, so I'm just going to show this on my stream window here. I'm going to open up the task manager. And once you open up the task manager, you need to locate the SOLIDWORKS PDM process. So this is SOLIDWORKS PDM process right here. I'm going to right click on it, and then I'm going to click on open file location. This is what PDM used to be called. PDM actually used to be called Kinesio. I mean, admin is just the admin tool, but the actual name of PDM prior to it being purchased by SOLIDWORKS and converted into SOLIDWORKS PDM was called Kinesio, and that name is still used in the SOLIDWORKS installation folder. Some of the utilities, they still have the word Kinesio in it. So that's an interesting piece of trivia about the history of PDM. But going back to the point, yeah, it is a software that was developed in the early 2000s. Obviously, the technology has come a long way. Things have moved in a different direction. It's more about scale. It's more about reach. Now it's more about things being instantly available. And we are going in the direction of the cloud, and that's what SOLIDWORKS Corporation is. And every other major CAD editor is heading in that direction. So I do understand the sentiment, some of the folks about SOLIDWORKS PDM as a product, right? But still, if it's properly configured and you know what you're doing, and you don't have any, you're not doing anything that the product was not designed to do, then it's an okay one. It's stable for the most part. I got a question here. Why PDM systems sometimes reverse back to an old version of an assembly? Could you possibly clarify your question with an example? And we've got David here chiming in. Hey, David, thank you for joining us today. And David says that he now writes code mostly in C#, which is absolutely awesome. I just love that. But in the past, it's been several years then since he used VBA, and that's the kind of evolution that I would like to see people do, is that they start, writing code in SOLIDWORKS or PDM, and you start with VBA. That's your first language. It's the easiest language to master. It's within the software. It's easy to use, easy to write scripts and get immediate compilation of your code for you to see the results, just like what we're going to do now. And then at some point, you graduate to a more sophisticated language because SolidWorks, because VBA does have its limitations, and this makes me smile when I hear that people start with VBA and now are writing more writing in C# or VB.NET. So that's awesome. Audie says that he uses Inovia Smart Team. That's part of Dassault System. I'm not very familiar with Inovia, but I hear some good things about it. I need to educate myself about that product. Anywho, all right. I'm actually logged into my Vault right now. You don't see it, but you just have to believe me. What we're gonna do is we're gonna write some VBA code to automate SolidWorks. And let's do that. As always, whenever you're starting a new macro, you want to make sure that your SolidWorks is open, because that's the only way you can create an SWP file. You go to Tools, you go to Macro, and then you click on New. And that is going to create a new macro. It's asking me here, hey, save this somewhere on your system. I'm going to take this away to my other screen and save it on, you know what, I'm going to save it on my desktop already. And then I'm going to give this a name. Let's call this checkout file. Let's bring SolidWorks back to the foreground here. So we've got ourselves our new SolidWorks macro. We got Chris chiming in from YouTube. He says that he is using SolidWorks PDM Pro, and that he's done some significant reprogramming in VBA for the convert task, but that is it so far. What do you mean by reprogramming in VBA? You're talking about making changes to the convert task? Okay. Alrighty. So whenever you create a new macros in SolidWorks, you're gonna get these 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 lines every single time, and that's what we. This is what our starting point is. DMLW app as object, which we can change to the specific API object, which is SOLIDWORKS.SOLIDWORKS, and set SW app equal application.SOLIDWORKS. That gives VBA the pointer to the SolidWorks application, so we can start programming with SolidWorks, with the SolidWorks API. But we're not going to need that today. I mean, we're going to need it, but we are going to get more dependencies into this macro, and that new dependency is SolidWorks PDM. I'm going to log in to PDM and then check out a file that's already open in SolidWorks, and then apply the change, and then check it back in. Okay, so Chris is saying that he is his reprogramming means that he has added some extra functionality to the convert task. Absolutely, yeah. I feel like adding editing the convert task. It depends on what you're doing. So if it's something pretty simple, then yeah. Then I can see that is the way to go, right? But I feel sometimes that when you are working with the convert task, you tend to want to make changes that would be done better if you would write an entirely other program or a custom task versus trying to make those changes in the convert task script. Just my opinion. So like generating a QR code or merging PDFs, or I don't know, something of that magnitude, I guess. It just very time consuming. It's a big effort write that in VBA. So I suggest that to some of the folks that want to edit the convert task is to consider writing an entirely custom task in C# or VB.NET if what they're doing seems like it's an overkill for the convert task. And yes, it does, as Chris says just now, it really starts out pretty simple. The scope keeps expanding, and sometimes you feel like you want to start from scratch. It might be a good idea to start from scratch sometimes, but you want to whenever you make a modification to your code, you want to make sure that that change, you want to make sure that your code is close to modification but open to extension. So you add on top of it, you don't really modify, and that's kind of easily easier said than done. But it's always worth taking a step back, make sure that you write things properly in order for you to avoid having to spend a considerable amount of time in the future to add new changes or fix some bugs. Anywho, so in my VBA code, if we want to add a new dependency, all we need to do is to go to Tools, References. This is going to open up the References dialog where we have access to all of the references that are on our local system. We just need to locate SOLIDWORKS PDM. We are going to find that here. I'm gonna take this to my other window because I can barely see in my on that one. So I need to locate the PDM works. PDM works enterprise. There it is. I found it. PDM Works Enterprise 2023 or whatever PDM version you're on. Type library is the reference that you need to add to your SOLIDWORKS VBA macro if you want to automate SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional. Simple. This list in the available references list in the reference dialog is organized alphabetically and does not have a way to filter. So you have to carefully scroll down this list to find your reference and check it. Make sure that it's checked. I'll do that here. Sometimes if you don't remember the correct name of the reference, then you can get stuck trying to find in the list. For this reference, it's PDM Works Enterprise. I would think it's called SOLIDWORKS PDM Professional 2023 type libraries, but it's not. So It might be a good idea to keep a sticky note of these references that you don't, use on a daily basis. Anywho, once you find that, just make sure that you click on OK, and that's going to add the PDM reference to our macro. Now we can actually declare PDM API types in our code. And we shall do that by starting with the vault object. So dim, I'm going to call this EDM vault as EDM vault 5, which is the vault object. I'm actually going to remove, let's just keep SW app there. And then I'll start by setting my EDM vault to equal a new instance of the EDM vault 5. So set EDM vault 5. And let me just compile my code by clicking on the run button. That compiles and runs it, right? And now I can type in my debug print. I want to check my login status. So EDM vault 5 dot is logged. So is logged is a property that exists in the EDM vault 5 object, which represents our vault, and it returns the connection status in my computer if I'm logged into a vault, right? So if I click on run, returns false. I'm not logged in. Let's try to. Am I actually not logged in? Am I not logged in? Okay. Let's try to log into the vault. So I'm gonna type in EDM vault dot login auto. Well, let's start with login. The login method requires a few things. One is your username, right? Second to that would be your password, and then third, the vault name. I mean, I could type in my username, my password. You really sometimes don't want to do that because your code will be vulnerable to someone, getting access to your login credentials. You don't want to share those, or sometimes you want to be able to have the code dynamically, use the current users, the current Windows users PDM. So that could be someone with a different username and a password. And thus, if we abstract away the responsibility of logging in to the Windows session, that removes that responsibility from our code and makes it easy for us to sort of request that from Windows, right? And thus, the best thing to do here is to use the method login auto, because it uses the current PDM connection or the current PDM session. And if there's no session, then you'll be prompted to log in using username and password. So the user that's going to run this code will have to provide a username and password, which is awesome. So it means our code does not have any username or passwords hard coded there, which is what you really want. The only downside to this is that if you're not logged into PDM, you're going to get that blue login dialog, and it's going to stop the execution over your logic until the user interacts with that. So just be aware of that. So the first parameter here is the name of my vault, which is Blue Byte, and that will be something different for you. And then the parent handle here is actually a numeric identifier that allows us to specify the window on top of which the login dialog will show up. And that, if you specify 0, that you're not guaranteed, in case that there's no PDM connection, that the dialog will appear on top of all your windows, grabbing your user attention. It could be printed as in the bottom of the window tree, meaning that it will not be visible to the current user. And they're like, what's going on? I can't see anything. Why is this code not working? And why am I getting the Windows warning sound, right? So that way, you need to make sure that you are given this method here, the handle of the window that's hosting this code, or that's running this code. In our case, this is going to be SOLIDWORKS. So we need to get the apparent window handle of the SOLIDWORKS application. We're going to just type in here handle, and I'm going to define a variable called handle as long, right? Long. Sorry for the spelling mistake. And in order for us to get the handle, we need to, of the SOLIDWORKS application, we need to define another variable here. We're going to call it frame, as frame, and then set frame to be equal to SWApp, just frame, which is a method, and then the handle is going to be the frame dot get HW 64. I'll put a breakpoint at this level right here, and then run my code. Type mismatch. I think frame get HW HWND. So run my code again. I'm gonna hover over handle, and then I'm going to see a value that's different to 0. 1991-46. This is the current identifier in File Explorer of the SOLIDWORKS window, which is not guaranteed to be the same. Each SOLIDWORKS session will have a different window handle. This is extremely important. I'm gonna pause here briefly to see if, just to ask the folks that are watching the stream right now, if this makes any sense. Anybody who doesn't understand this, please, I'll go through it again. So now that I have the handle, and I proceed to execute this API call here, login auto. If I'm not actually logged into PDM, and I want to make sure, I don't think I am, but I'm just going to go to my blueberry at the bottom of my File Explorer. I just want to make sure that I'm not logged in. Not logged into PDM now. This should print on top of my SOLIDWORKS window. All right, moment of truth here. Ta-da! It printed exactly what we needed. Imagine you had, I don't know, 10 windows, or the user had 3, 4, 5, 6 windows. We don't know which one is the top one. David says that he didn't understand what the handle meant, and now he. Oh, this is awesome! Thank you, man. This really made my day. Cool. Sweet. So this window printed prop on top of the SOLIDWORKS dialog. So imagine this. If you are writing a console application, if you are writing a class library that's going to be loaded into another application, you want to make sure that that there's a way for you to get the handle from the host app, and you use that handle to pass that to the login auto method, and that is going to show the dialog box where it needs to be shown, and that placement of it on the host app that's currently running is going to make sure that the user will see it if they're attending their computer, obviously, right? And they're going to be able to log in, because right now my application, my macro, has no control. It's waiting for the user to interact with the dialog box. All the control right now is with this dialog here, and my code is just waiting in the background saying, okay, I'm waiting for the user to interact with the dialog box, and I'm waiting for a return value. Now that return value is very important. This gets very technical pretty quickly. The return value could be a bunch of things. Could be an okay value, at least from the programmatical background, right? Okay value, user has been able to log in. Okay, proceed to the next line. It could also be an exception. Yes, it could be an exception. What that exception is, user canceled by clicking on this button here, right? So that's another use case that we at least for the time being, and for the folks who are just getting their trying to understand what the parent handle means, just be aware of that this dialog here could actually trigger your code to fail because you've canceled the operation of logging in, right? But for the most part, we're just going to assume that the user is going to be able to log in. They've got username and password, and they're good. All right. Let's see if we can bring the login auto from the API documentation to our stream. Let me bring this over here. Logs into the specified vault, login auto, right? Vault name, and then the parent window handle. So the parent window handle used when the login dialog box displays to ensure that it remains visible. And then there's a bunch of remarks here that I highly suggest that you read, specifically about the SOLIDWORKS end user license agreement. Make sure that you read this. This parent window parameter, it actually appears in some other areas in the API, not just with the login auto. Right. You just type in h parent wnd. Okay. There's another dialog: show commit error dialogs, show warning dialog, show dialog, browse for folder. Right. Always kind of UI related. Launch app, the EDM search 7, which is the SOLIDWORKS PDM search application. So this is hopefully this makes more sense now. Awesome. I'm gonna put my super secret password here, which some of you might be able to guess. And the execution of my code completes successfully. Where's my dialog? Where's my SOLIDWORKS VBA editor? Awesome. I'm gonna debug print. EDM Vault is logged in. I'm gonna run my code one more time. This time, because I'm logged in, I'm not gonna see the dialog box, the blue login dialog box. Run my code. And I got it true because I'm actually logged in. Sweet. Sweet. Biggest difference between the login auto and the login method. Obviously, we stated in the past, and just a couple of minutes ago, that we are required to specify a username and a password if we just use the login method, not the login auto. The other thing is that the login method, if you call it more than once, so that you call it, you log in, and then you call it again, you're gonna get an exception saying that you tried to log into the vault twice. With login auto, guys, you don't have to worry about that, because the first time you're going to log into the vault, and after that, it's going to sort of piggyback with the existing connection to PDM. So, I love using login auto instead of login. This method is just perfect. So now that we're logged in, you know what? Let's just open up a document that is. I need to find us a document in my SOLIDWORKS PDM that's checked in, because we're going to open it as read-only, and then we're going to check it out. All right. I'm going to bring this to my other window here. and let's go to my full grill assembly, and then I'm gonna find me a part. Center shelf. Yes, I'm gonna use this center shelf. Oops. Center shelf, I'm gonna click on open. I have the SOLIDWORKS PDM add-in loaded in my SOLIDWORKS. I might get a message box saying, hey, would you like to check this file out? And I'm gonna say no. And I did not, but if you see up top, it's read-only. Right. Let's go back to our code here. All right, let's switch gears. We're gonna switch gears to actually let's stay with the SOLIDWORKS PDM API. Let's get the object that represents a file in PDM. Now that we have the vault, so here's something of similarity between the SOLIDWORKS API and PDM API. The top level object in the SOLIDWORKS API is SOLIDWORKS, right here. And the top level object in the SOLIDWORKS PDM API is the EDM Vault 5. These two objects are required to write automation for their respective applications, SOLIDWORKS or PDM. And from each object, we get access to all the other objects in the two APIs. So, as an example, from SOLIDWORKS, the highest level object of the SOLIDWORKS API, we're able to get model.doc2 that represents a document. Using the same approach from the EDM Vault 5, which is the object that represents a vault in PDM API, and the PDM API, we are able to get the object that represents a file, which is the IEDM file 5 object. We're gonna do that right now. Let me start by defining a variable here called file. Just keep it simple, pretty simple file. And then the type of the object is the IEDM Vault 5. Oh, my bad. IEDM file 5. File 5. Does anybody know what these letters mean? IEDM. It took me a while to... Another piece of trivia for you folks. This is another Kinesio trivia. I don't think this was designed by SOLIDWORKS. This is a legacy naming convention from the OGs, the original developers of SOLIDWORKS PDM. Anywho, I here stands for interface. Internet Explorer file. That's a good one, Audie. Yeah. Yeah, I wish it meant that. All right, so to get the PDM object for the file, right? We need to use a method called get file from path that is part of the EDM Vault 5 interface. This method here takes in the path to the file, and oops, I think I typed in get folder, so I need to do get file from path. It takes in the path of the file, but it also returns the object that represents the folder of the folder of the file. The file and folder in PDM are two things that go always hand in hand. A lot of the methods that are part of the file, the file interface, sometimes require you to specify the ID of the parent folder. So as you learn more about PDM, maybe you'll see that. Here I'm just gonna type in folder, and I'm gonna define a new variable called folder as IEDM folder 5. Now I need to specify the complete path to my file. I could hard code that, right? But I could also leverage the SOLIDWORKS API to get the full file path of the open document in my SOLIDWORKS session. How do we do that? Well, let's go all the way up to the start of our subroutine here, and let's define, go up top, and let's define a new variable called model docs. SW model doc as model doc 2, and we're gonna set SW model doc to be equal to, does anybody know the property or method that I'm gonna type out right now to get the pointer to the active SOLIDWORKS document? And I already gave the answer to that. Just looking here at the chat if somebody can give an answer to that. Let's take a look at the chat. Audie saying, what is the maximum length of the path? Is it 265 characters? I think this is specific to Windows. The 255 path. There is definitely an exception that gets thrown in .NET about the file path being too long. And I think that exception propagates through to SOLIDWORKS PDM, so I would say that it is true. Well, the Microsoft.NET is saying that the full path can actually be longer than 265 characters, but individual components have a maximum length of 256 characters. So I guess the folder names and the file names cannot be longer than 255 characters, which really makes sense, Beck. Why would you have a file name that has 265 characters or 55 characters? Yeah. And there are some settings that you could play around with. I'm just going here down a rabbit hole. Down a rabbit hole of Windows changes, of Windows configurations. You can actually, in Windows 10 Pro, you can actually configure your disk to use to enable the NTFS long path option. So that allows you to actually have paths that are longer than 260 characters. I'm pretty sure that everybody's not using the FAT or the FAT file system type. Everybody's on NTFS. So if you navigate to your local, open up. Let's do this. So hit Windows key and then Windows key and R, and then type in JP edit. Oops, JP edit dot MSC. All right, brings this to our foreground, right? And then it says navigate to local computer policy. All right, got local computer policy here, and then computer configuration right here, and then right after that I need to get to administrative templates, and then under administrative templates I need to go to system, and then under system I need to go to file system, and right underneath that I can double click on NTFS enable Win32 long paths, and then I get this window right here. Enable Win32 paths. All right. Click enable, apply. Okay. Well, I guess my paths now can be longer than 260 characters. Thank you guys. This is awesome. Yeah. Sweet. All right. In my code here, the method that I need to use with the property is called ActiveDoc. And from ActiveDoc, I get access to the model.doc2. From the model.doc2, I'm going to get the path to my file that I'm going to use to get the PDM object representing the file. Right. So let's type that out. I'm going to type here dim file path as a string. And I'm typing file path equal to swmodel.doc dot get path name, and now I could leverage that path name. I can copy paste it here instead of hard coding it. And then I'll do a little debug print here. Debug print file.name. Put a breakpoint at this level. I need to remove the debug print for the is logged in, because we don't need that anymore. Let me close my file policy. I don't need that. Let's run our code. And that does print the file name. Perfect. Now, let's go and check out the file. How do we check out a file? Well, easiest thing to do is to Google search or type in ChatGPT how to check out a file. So check out file, SOLIDWORKS PDM API. Google search has given me a link here to a VBA example. But what I am after is the actual API call. All right, the API call to check out a file is called lock file. Does anybody know why it's called lock file? By the way, here's another area where you need the parent window handle is when you lock when you check out a file. All right, to check out a file in the SOLIDWORKS PDM API is to use the method lock file. Lock file puts a lock on the file so other PDM users cannot modify it, and that's why it's called lock file. To check out is to lock out the file. All right, so now that we know that, let's attempt to lock our file. First parameter here is the parent window handle. We already have the parent window. Sorry, first parameter here is the parent folder ID. We already have access to the folder object. Second to that would be the parent window handle, which we do, which I called handle. Perfect. And then the last one here is called the EDM lock file, which I will go and specify here or show in the API documentation. Go back. Third parameter. EDM log file, optional combination of EDM log file bits. Default value is EDM log file dot EDM log simple. So a combination of EDM log file, and then when you when you go here, there's only one member, so I don't know what combination are they talking about. And the member uses 0, which is the default behavior. So if the team from the SOLIDWORKS PDM support or the documentation folks can really clarify this, because this is very confusing to me. So that parameter you can absolutely ignore. All right, let's lock our file. Our code executes. We're executing our code, and what is going on? Oh my god. Look at this. We are about to crash. Well, there's a reason for it. Not only that we crashed, but we actually, I don't know, I think we lost all of that code, which is very frustrating. I'm not gonna send the report. I'm gonna click on OK here, and I am actually going to launch SOLIDWORKS again and get back to that file and see if we can get that code back. Well, the reason why is my file that was trying to check was opened in another application as read-only. And PDM cannot put a lock on a file that is being consumed by another application. So one of the first things that we need to do when we have a file that's open in SOLIDWORKS that we want to check out, that's already, we haven't checked out prior to opening it in SOLIDWORKS, is to actually release it from SOLIDWORKS. I was hoping for my SOLIDWORKS to throw, for my code to throw an exception, but it didn't. So let's open up SOLIDWORKS again. So open on my other screen. I'm just going to drag it into the forefront here. Foreground rather. So we've got that document open in read only. I'm gonna unload the SOLIDWORKS PDM add-in here. Perfect. And then we go back to my macro edit. Checkout macro. Sweet. Okay, let's go back to so I remember saving the macro on my desktop. So I'll go to my desktop and find it. It's called checkout file, which unfortunately brings me back to this level. So thank you, SolidWorks, for crashing. We lost all of our progress. Alright, let's attempt to get back to where we were by quickly defining everything that we need to define here. So I'll just define the frame as frame and then set that frame to be equal to SWApp dot frame, and then setting defining the handle and as long, and then handle equal to frame dot get HW wind, and then I need to go to my references and find the reference for the SolidWorks PDM API, which we know for a fact that it starts with PDM works. And this list is alphabetically organized, so we'll have to scroll all the way down to find the word P. I know that W and U are S. This is P, so we're getting closer. PDM. There it is. PDM. Works. 2023. Check. Okay. Let me save my progress. So now I can actually define my model doc or my EDM vault as EDM vault. As EDM vault 5, and then let's define my SW model doc as SW model doc 2 as model doc 2, sorry. And then let's just quickly log in. Dim, or rather EDM vault dot login auto dot login auto vault name and then handle, and then set SW model doc to be equal to SWApp dot active doc. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to get back to where we were. And then set dim file path as string SW model file path equal to SW model doc dot get path name, dim dim file as EDM file 5, set file equal to EDM vault dot get file from path, file path, and then folder, and then dim folder as EDM folder 5. All right, and let's do a quick debug print here. File.name. Let's run this code. I did not set EDM vault, so I'm just gonna. I can either do set EDM vault equal new EDM vault, or in the declaration here, I can dim EDM Vault as new EDM Vault. That should do it. Okay, that did it. Okay, so the name printed. This is a good lesson for me to continuously save my progress and not really rely on SolidWorks not crashing. All right, so now I need to remove the lock on this file before I check it out, right? So in order to do that, I'm going to call the method force release locks. This is going to remove the SolidWorks lock that it has placed on the file when it first opened it. Now I can actually lock the file by doing log file, meaning check it out, folder.id, and then the parent window handle, which is handle. And once I've done that, I can actually reapply or reload my document so that SolidWorks has access to it, so it can save, so we can actually continue working on the file. So SW model doc dot reload or replace false. We don't want to reload it as read only because we just checked it out. And then the replace file name will be the file path. And then discard changes, we're gonna type in here false. We don't want to discard any changes. So this should check out our file. Let's run this code. Oops, we got a little debug here. Error. You tried to log in twice. Already logged in. What do you mean log in twice? Let's put a breakpoint here. Handle. Ooh. So every time here we're creating a new instance, so that's not cool. So let's do set EDM Vault equals new EDM Vault 5. And let's put a breakpoint at this level right here. So right now we've printed the name of the file. We're going to remove the SolidWorks lock that SolidWorks places on the file when it opens it. And then we're gonna check it out right now. Hopefully this does not crash the macro. Possible that it will crash it if we give it the wrong values. The operation is not permitted since the file is checked out. What is it really? Let's double check that. Let's go center shelf. Let's open it up in File Explorer. Well, it is actually checked out. So let's just do a little refresh. Something went wrong the first time. I think it checked out the file, but it crashed SolidWorks. So the shelf is checked out. So let's go back to our code. I'm just gonna save this, stop the execution, go back to my file, close it, go to my File Explorer. I'm gonna do an undo checkout. So I know for a fact that it's checked in. Alright, so let me just bring this so you guys can see that. See, the file is actually checked. It's not checked out, it's checked in. I'm gonna reopen the file right now. in SolidWorks opens as read-only, and then I'm gonna execute my logic. So force lock number 1. I don't have any lock. I'm gonna try to check out the file. Perfect. It was able to check out the file successfully. If I go back here to my SolidWorks and to my file explorer, sorry, and then I refresh, my file is checked out. And now I can reload it by applying this method. Reload or replace. And the macro has finished the execution. Now, notice, there is no read-only here anymore, right? So this is how you check out a file that was opened as read-only from within SolidWorks, without having to use the SolidWorks PDM add-in. Now let's test this out in a different way. So I'm going to close the file. I'm going to go back to File Explorer. I'm going to undo the checkout. I want to see if any changes that we make to the file prior to checking it out stick. Because you can get into the use case where you decide to open a file in SolidWorks as read-only. You don't have the file checked out. You make some changes and you're like, oh wow, I forgot to check out the file, but I've already made changes, right? That's a very interesting use case. So this macro is going to save your ass in that way. If it works, we're going to find out here in a second. So I'm going to do undo checkout. And we're going to open the file again. Undo checkout. Let me just bring that here. Right, so undo checkout. Open the file in SolidWorks as read-only, and then make some changes to it. We can add a custom property, and then check it out and reload the document and see if the changes we made to the file when it was read-only stuck around, because that would be a lifesaver of a feature. All right, okay. File is actually checked into the vault. I'm going to go to File again in my SolidWorks. I'm going to open up my center shelf. It's going to be opened as read-only since my file is checked in. Perfect. Now, I'm going to go to File, Properties. I'm going to make a change. So I'm going to add a property, call it description 2. I'm not feeling quite creative today, so description 2, this description is gonna have the name of the file in, let's bring this over here so you guys see what I'm doing. It's gonna have the name of the file in all caps, right? So center shelf, and I'm gonna click on OK. Now, I've actually made changes to the document. You could see it up here, read only, but there's a little star saying that you've made changes to the file. Or in API terminology, this file is dirty. And we can't save those changes because it's read only, because it's checked in, it's not checked out. So we need to check it out, right? So now, if we run our logic, let's get to this level right here. So I'm just going to click on remove this, and then execute. So it will check it out. But when we get to this level here, we're going to reload the document. We're not going to discard any changes. And we're going to not reload it as read only. So if this works as intended, we should be able to see the changes that we've made to the file persist. So I'm going to click on continue, and that finish execute. I'm going to go to file, properties, and ta-da, the changes have stuck around. So this is absolutely a life-saving macro. Very simple one. There's nothing fancy in it, right? Nothing fancy in this macro at all. This is going to allow you to check out a file that you've made changes to and have those changes obviously persist. So we are going to we have to put this macro in our SolidWorks library, which keeps on growing every day. We've got more macros here. Let's bring this to the window, to the stream here. We've got a lot more or new macros. Soon I think we're going to be hitting more than 30 macros in this VBA macro library here. And the goal is to initially get to 50 and then 100 and then 200 and so on. Keep adding macros here to share love with the community. So if you have an idea for a VBA macro that you think is useful, feel free. We'll write it out here in the stream and put it publicly so that everybody can use that. Maybe get some inspiration from to help automate the repetition and make them more efficient in their SolidWorks workflow. What would be a really good title? Because I need your help, guys. What would be a good name for this macro? I need some suggestions. So this macro is a little bit technical because you use it when you forgot to check the file out and you've already made changes to the file. So you check it out. So you run it, and it allows you to keep the changes that you made to the file while still being able to check the file back into the vault. It can be called I forget to check out the file, but I've made changes, which is what I would personally call it, but I don't think that's a good name. So I need your help to come up with a better name. I'm just gonna look at the chat here and wait for you guys still. You give me a couple more names because I'm gonna type it out. I made changes to the files, but I forgot to check it out. Updates confirmed. Nice name. That's a good name. Thank you, Adi. So updates confirmed. Any other names? Oops, forgot to check in or check out. Yeah, I think I'm gonna use that. Forgot to check out. Yeah. All right. I think I'm gonna call it just forget to check out. And obviously, if I come up with a better name for it, then we'll give it that name. Let's take that code and put it up in the in the SOLIDWORKS VBA macro library, and then just call it a day for the stream. So let me find my Visual Studio Code. And Visual Studio Code, right? Beautiful. And then I'm gonna create a new section for SOLIDWORKS PDM. All right, so SOLIDWORKS PDM is a new section. Let me show you what I'm doing here. Oops, not that window. This window right now. Alright, we're gonna call this a macro. We're gonna call this section SOLIDWORKS PDM. All right, thank you, Audie, for being here today. Appreciate your company. Have a great rest of your day. And then we're gonna call the name here SOLIDWORKS PDM. We'll call this I forgot to check out. I made changes but forgot to check out. Call this forgot to check out. Perfect. So this is going to be the name of the macro that we just wrote. Control S to save. Now I'm just going to try to find. Let's just copy it, any of these macros. Add mask, right? I'm just gonna go and I'll copy this and paste it and change the name here to rename. That's the name. Forgot to check out. Made changes, but forgot to check out. This is awesome. Made changes but forgot to check out. I have to go back to the table of content here and make sure that I use the same name. Control S to save. Perfect. So let me go and locate my file again, and then I'm gonna go full screen here. I'm just gonna change the title. Made changes to file but forgot to check it out. I'm gonna remove the description here. I don't even need the image because that's useless. So I'll type in here, this macro, this VBM macro is useful to preserve changes made to a file that has not been checked out in SOLIDWORKS. It will check out the file from the vault and then apply the changes made to the file when it was read only, allowing you to save the changes you made to the file and check it back into the vault. Beautiful. So we need to go back here to our code where we're just going to copy paste this code. go back here, and we're gonna keep the code disclaimer. Paste that, and subroutine. Everything's looking good. The only thing that we need to do is to make sure that call this vault name. I'll copy this and I'll dim vault name as string, and then vault name equal Blue Byte, and I'll put a comment here. Change this to your vault name. Right. System requirements. SolidWorks 2017. SolidWorks and PDM. 20 additional libraries. PDM Works Enterprise. Preconditions. Oh, I know. I don't really need this. I can remove this. And then perhaps we could add an image. That would make things very useful, right? Adding an image of the file references dialog, showing the folks the reference that they need. So just print screen that. Go back here to MS Paint. Glorious MS Paint. Paste that here. Let me find the dialog and then just crop it. And then maybe I can just highlight this with a red rectangle. Right. I'm gonna do a save as a PNG, and let me locate this markdown file in File Explorer. I'm gonna go up one level here and go to my images, and I'm gonna copy paste this over and call it. About that, can do it from the save as dialog instead of doing it from File Explorer. So I will change the name here to PDM VBA reference. Yes, that's what we want. PDM VBA reference, that's the name that we're using. We're gonna save over that file, PDM VBA reference.png, and then I'm just gonna close file. MS Paint, I don't need it anymore. I'll go back here to my mass file. I'll just copy this and go back here to my changes but forgot. Again, if you are watching this video later on LinkedIn or on our YouTube stream and you think you have a better name from a macro, please drop a comment so we can go back and give this macro a more descriptive name so that it makes sense to the folks who are makes it easier for the folks to find it in our library, but also to search for it in Google. So right here, I'm gonna place this image, and I'm gonna change the name out to what do you call it? PDM VBA reference. Beautiful. PDM VBA reference. Let's add a little text here. Make sure to add the PDM Enterprise Works Enterprise reference before you run this macro. From references, tools. Beautiful. I'm just going to click Control S to save the changes in Visual Studio here. And then what I'll do is I'll go back to my CLI which I can actually bring the terminal here. So I'll get a new terminal, wait for it to initialize. I'm just gonna do docfx. I have to go up one level actually, so docfx, which is the awesome tool that we use to generate the documentation for the SOLIDWORKS VBA macro library. .exe, and then docfx JSON, and then --serve. So this is going to compile the documentation again, adding this new macro, and then spinning a new web server locally here before we commit these changes to the web. I just want to see what that looks like. Maybe we need to make some changes, maybe not. So the web server is about to be loaded here, or no, it's loading plugins. Now it's loaded. It's being served right now. Awesome. So I'll just go back, bring this here, and then if I do local host, click on SOLIDWORKS VBA macro, and then there should be a new item here, which is called SOLIDWORKS VBA macros. Nice. And it should have one like this, a bill of material. Let's see how this renders. Make sure that looks nice. Macro code is all right. Perfect. Let's just go back to the table of content. Make sure that I didn't miss something here. I already missed one thing, which is the dash. So Control S to save. Control C here to stop the server, and then docfx again, generate the documentation one more time. And then once that gets generated, we're just going to take a look at it one last time before we commit the changes to Git. Scroll all the way down. That looks nicer, buddy. SOLIDWORKS PDM, a new section here on our VBA library. I made changes but forgot to check out. But this is an awesome VBA macro that's going to save you a lot of time. Awesome. Let's push those changes to the web. So git add dot git commit -m added a new SOLIDWORKS PDM macro, and then git push. And this takes roughly a couple of minutes for it to hit the online repo, but for the pages to generate on SOLIDWORKS VBA macro.bluebyte.biz, it takes us a couple of minutes. So you won't be able to see it immediately. But within a few minutes after we end the stream here, you're going to be able to get your hands on that code. This was awesome. I would like to thank everybody who was here with us today, watching us write this useful VBA macro. And I would like to thank you if you have stuck around till the end of this VBA stream. If you're watching it later, thank you very much. If you're watching it on LinkedIn, thank you again. If you're watching it on YouTube, thank you again. If you're watching on Twitch, we really appreciate all the support. And we look forward to seeing you again sometime next week with another macro on the SOLIDWORKS VBA stream brought to you by Blue Byte Systems. Thank you all, and I will see you next week. Happy coding.